Immigration reform recently passed the Senate, and as Congress returns from its July 4th break, the House will continue its work on immigration. The bill passed by the Senate was comprehensive immigration reform, while the House is considering immigration issues individually. The House Judiciary Committee is tackling immigration, and the committee is chaired by Republican Congressman Bob Goodlatte, who represents most of the Shenandoah Valley. Thanks for being with us.
Good to be with you, Bob, and yours.
Now, House Speaker John Boehner does not intend for the House to take up the Senate bill. You've said the Senate bill repeats many of the same mistakes made in the 1986 immigration law, which got us into this mess in the first place. How so?
Well, first of all, in 1986, they gave an easy pathway to citizenship to nearly 3 million people with the promise of greater enforcement, border enforcement, employer sanctions, other new things to prevent a repeat of illegal immigration. Well, obviously, that was never put into effect, not just by this president, but by all the interceding presidents as well. So this Senate bill now gives a legal status. It's a longer pathway to citizenship, but it gives a legal status almost immediately to maybe 11 million or more people, and then says we'll fix the border, we'll put in E-Verify, we'll put in an entry-exit visa system, we'll do the other interior enforcement things that we've all said we need to have. They don't do it until after they've given that legal status, and most people think that the legal status is what most people who are not lawfully present in the United States want anyway. So a repeat of 1986. I also think the special pathway to citizenship in the Senate bill, giving people who have entered the country illegally something that people who've come legally for decades and followed the rules and gone through and been the beneficiary of particular types of petitions where they get the status automatically just by virtue of having been here illegally and then legally for a period of time is a bad way, a bad precedent as well. And then finally, there's not any kind of significant interior enforcement. About 35 to 40% of the people who are here illegally entered the country legally on visitors visas, business visas, student visas, visa waivers, and simply overstayed. So the border itself, securing that is not enough.
Okay. Now, 11 million people living in the U.S. illegally. As you mentioned, the Senate passed a long pathway to citizenship, but you said you don't foresee that in the House. So what do we do with the 11 million, or you just think the pathway to citizenship should be different or even longer, or
well,
what?
We could have simply a legal status for the overwhelming majority of them, and then for those who were brought here at a very young age by their parents through no culpability on their own part and grew up here, maybe they would get citizenship. But people who simply came here illegally, give them a legal status so they can work, they can pay their taxes, they can travel back and forth to their home country, they can do a lot of things. And then if they're the beneficiary, like people have for generations, the beneficiary of someone else's petition because they have a job skill that's needed, or they marry a United States citizen, or other things that are the normal ways of legal immigration, then they could move forward themselves. But I think most of them would like to be able to come out of the shadows, as they say, and have a legal status, and that would be possible, in my opinion, but only after we have first put into effect these new measures that have been, in some cases, promised for many years, or some of their new technologies like the E-Verify system. Once those are in place, I think you could do that in 2 to 3 years and then give them the legal status, so we're sure we don't get another wave of illegal immigration falling behind.
Is the problem with the illegal immigration more so the border insecurity, or is it more or evenly people overstaying their welcome that are here legally and just, well, you're supposed to leave a year ago?
Well, about 35 to 40% are people who were supposed to leave and overstayed. So that's about, if you accept the number of 11 million, that's about 4 million people who are unlawfully present in the United States. But the border, they came through legally at ports, airports, land crossings, and so on. So for those 4 million and people coming behind on visas, securing the border by itself simply doesn't completely solve the problem.
The other 7 million would be people that came across the border illegally?
Yeah, that would be the estimate.
Okay. All right, well, we'll see. Do you expect some immigration reform to pass Congress this year?
We've passed 5 bills in the House so far, 4 out of the Judiciary Committee, which I chair, and then the Border Security and Enforcement bill out of the Homeland Security Committee. The Republican conference is going to meet this week to discuss how we might move forward at this point, see what kind of consensus there is around those proposals, plus the possibility of dealing with some kind of legalization.
All right, Congressman Bob Goodlatte, the chair of the House Judiciary Committee, I want to thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Bob.
We'll have more news and final check of weather.